Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And welcome to 2020. Woohoo. The future is here. Remember, not too long ago, we used to talk about Vision 2020? Like it or not, here we are. Now, I don't know if you have reached where you wanted to be by now, or if you've achieved everything that you planned, but you will all agree with me that we are living in some very interesting times, right? And we are all a bunch of very smart people in this room. And I'm sure none of us have to work too hard just to be casually aware of what is happening around us, right? Now, I'm not talking about news, politics and all, but I'm talking about the other aspect of news which seems to be an everyday affair to us, which is the booming economy, as well as the number of stores closings, right? It's pretty much on the same page, and most often it's the next headline after all the fancy numbers about how well the economy is doing, right? But don't worry, I'm not going to be spending next 5 minutes or so of my time talking about why the stores are closing or what is the reason for retail apocalypse. That topic has been beaten around the bush over the years, and in part we are all responsible, we are all guilty of playing a role in it, right? There was this one particular store closing in our area that really caught me off guard. Now, most of you all, I assume, are indigenous to this very area. And I thought that if I was surprised, so were you. And since the purpose of this speech was to research on a topic of my choice, this is what I decided to go ahead with. Now, the store closing that I am going to talk about, and I'm sure that you also got surprised, was the Apple store closing in Stonebriar Mall and in the Willow Bend Mall. Right? And now if you have to visit Apple store, you have to drive all the way to the Galleria Mall, right? And it's been pain in all the wrong places for me. And I was like, why did they close that store? My first thought was, were they losing money? How is it an Apple store losing money? Like, that place is never empty. Never. And it's that one unique place in the world where all the cool kids and the nerds want to come together and hang out. And the employees there just have to be employees to be called geniuses. With me, right? Can you think of any other place like that? And did you know that malls with Apple store in them are pegged in a higher order than rest of the malls? They go at a different pricing structure altogether. Then why would Apple decide to close these two stores in Collin County? And while I was doing some research, I came across some very interesting facts about these stores, which I would like to share here. Did you know that the Willow Bend location of Apple Store was location number 3 ever of Apple around the world? Currently, Apple has more than 500 stores worldwide, and Willow Bend location was number 3. It opened on August 3, 2001, when there was no concept of iPods, iPhones, iPads, nothing of those fancy stuff. All Apple had back then was a bunch of fancy CRT monitors and some box software. In fact, there's a press release that I came across that Apple released just around that time, and I want to read that out for you. It says, Apple vows to teach shoppers at its first Texas location about digital lifestyle with an extensive selection of Macs, 300 software titles, and peripherals like MP3 players, digital camcorders, digital cameras, and scanners. And this is where it gets interesting. All of the Macs are connected to the internet, and several let users make movies, burn custom music CDs, and publish their digital photos on personal website. Now we all know what happened to Apple's vision, right? On the contrary, when the Stonebridge location opened, it was August 2009. And by then, the era of iPods have come and gone. iPhone was at its peak, and iPad was still several months away from the launch. And it was store number 254 for Apple at that point in time. So what happened? Why would these stores just shut down? And and what I found out is that both these stores are geographically located in what is called as Eastern District of Texas, which is notorious for patent trolls, meaning anybody who has a patent in their name can sue a company which has an established place of business in the area. And there's some experts who've done some quick research have found out that Apple has settled at least 3 lawsuits worth at least $300 million. So by closing down these locations, Apple is trying to protect itself from any such future litigations by patent holders. So if somebody wants to file a lawsuit again, they'll probably have to go to Northern California or Delaware. They can no longer file a lawsuit here in Eastern District of Texas. But interestingly, Apple refuses to comment on this. They continue to maintain that they closed the stores because they wanted to invest in other DFW locations. But it doesn't make sense. But the bigger question is that if this is what a brand like Apple decided to do in this area, what stops other big brands to take the same decision? You never know. Only time will tell. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Our second speaker, Binny Malik, presenting a speech from Pathways, Effective Coaching. And Binny's title was, What Happened? What Happened? And Binny, your evaluator today is Valorie Haynes. Valorie, how did Binny do?
Mr. Toastmaster, I'll tell you how she did. Binny did great. She did a great job. Binny has a natural air to get up in front of people and talk. I think you're very good at it. I think you can naturally talk to a room of people. You asked me to watch a couple of things for you, and I did. You asked me to watch what your opening was. How did you do engaging your audience when you first started out? I think you did a really good job, but I think you can do better. Your opening was encouraging, and it was asking us to engage about 2020 and what's happening. But then you switched gears a little bit, and you started talking about store closings, and I wasn't as engaged as I got until you started talking about store closings. That's close to my heart because I work for JCPenney. So make that opening just a little bit more punched up so that you have everybody engaged right from the beginning. Tell them what you're going to tell them, really. You can start out with a story, or you can just punch it out. I'm going to talk to you today about blah, blah, blah. Okay, just make it so that it is welcoming, but tell them what you're going to tell them. Then I thought your speech was amazing. You got into the subject when you started telling us what happened and why, and that they were closing Apple stores. I didn't even know they were doing that. But when you got into the story, you didn't think about what you were saying. You used your hands. You used your voice and your body to tell us about why you researched Apple and why did they close the stores. The next thing she wanted to know was for me to watch her pauses because she tends to get really fast. And I did watch them, and I thought you did a really good job at that. When you stopped talking about how they closed the Apple stores, you paused and you looked around and you said, "Did you know?" And then you started telling us about the Apple stores. So that was a really great pause for effect, and we all stopped and listened. So I thought that was a really good way to use that. I think for a couple of ways you can improve, Keep practicing those pauses. Keep practicing how you'll begin and end your speech, because when you make those powerful, the middle, you just suck people in. And the next thing is your hand and body actions. Keep practicing to make those really natural. You have it already in you, but you can do so much more. Just keep practicing those things.